Hello, everyone. Sorry, we're starting a couple of minutes late. We're just waiting for a couple of other presenters, but I figured we can go ahead and get started. And if they join us, then that will be great. And if not, I will go ahead and talk through those books. So we'll go ahead and kick things off now. Starting today with me presenting some of our titles. We have a lot of really great authors and editors joining us today, and we'll be talking about books that are publishing from July to December on the Kensington list. We have 7 authors with us. We were going to have 8, but Minerva Spencer is actually right now saving animals from New Mexico wildfires as we speak. So we felt that that was certainly a worthy cause to miss today's presentation. So Elizabeth Trout, one of Kensington's editors, will be presenting for her. And in the meantime, I will go ahead and get things kicked off for us with Lisa Jackson, The Girl Who Survived. This is a brand new standalone thriller from #1 New York Times bestselling author Lisa Jackson. Really exciting. We haven't had a standalone thriller from her in a couple of years. Her books are always action-packed, and people really look forward to them as an event. She always really gives the readers a lot of story, a really big, thick book to sink their teeth into. People love Lisa. I love Lisa's books, and I think this is one of the most exciting packages we've had for her in a bit. It's really on trend, really eye-catching, and I'm really looking forward to bringing this one to readers following last year's The Third Grave. And prior to that, we had You Betrayed Me. Next up, we have The Watchmakers, which is a moving Holocaust memoir that has been written by the son of a survivor through first-person interviews. And in this memoir, Harry Lenga discusses how he and his brothers managed to survive the concentration camps through perseverance and endurance, and also their unique skills as watchmakers. We have already seen a lot of coverage and people gravitating towards this book. It's already been covered in the New York Times. And we have had we've seen a lot of people gravitating to the Holocaust memoirs that we've been publishing in the last few years, including 999 by Heather June McAdam, which was a PEN Award finalist. And we are looking forward to sharing this story as well, and having it become part of our backlist of really strong Holocaust memoirs. And then we have the new book from Amanda Skenendor, who brought us last year's The Second Life of Muriel West. That book has and continues to perform extremely well. People have really loved it. It's been picked up by numerous book clubs. It's been selected by Amazon for various promotions, including their KU Editors Selection for February 2022. I really enjoyed The Second Life of Muriel West, but I have to say I enjoyed The Nurse's Secret even more. It takes place during the Gilded Age in New York City. And obviously the Gilded Age right now is a period that is getting a lot of attention with the HBO series. But what's really exciting about The Nurse's Secret is that it takes us to the dark, gritty side of the Gilded Age. So it gives us a little bit of a different view of how the Gilded Age was in New York City, as opposed to the opulence. It is much more about the crime-ridden city. In this book, the heroine is basically your criminal with a heart of gold who will redeem herself by conning her way into nursing school and then ultimately working to solve a string of murders that are plaguing the neighborhood that she fled from. And then another read that I really, really enjoyed that is coming out this summer, The Wife Before by Shanora Williams, who I just feel is a total superstar. Love Shanora, love her books. I have 2 kids, including one who's under a year old, and I read this book in a day. If you have children, I feel like you know that that is crazy, basically, to be able to read an entire book in one day. Despite all the interruptions, I just could not put it down. This is just compulsively page turning. It's your perfect kind of popcorn read. Like once you get started, you can't stop. She really gets to the excitement onto the page and kind of this, she weaves the backstory in and you just have to know what happens. Every chapter you finish, you just can't stop. You just have to go on to the next page to see what is going to happen next and how it's all going to turn out. And is her new husband evil? Is he not evil? What was the deal with his ex-wife? You will have to know. So definitely pick this one up. I can't wait to see, to hear from everyone once they sink their teeth into this. And then next up, we have John Gilstrap's Lethal Game. This is the new Jonathan Grave thriller. Every July, John Gilstrap brings us a brand new action-packed Black Ops story in this series. Jonathan Grave is his best-selling hero. These regularly hit the USA Today list every year. They're particularly strong on the digital side and always one of our top pre-ordered titles. John is the thriller's author's thriller's author. He is the one who is at the conferences with authors coming to ask him questions and get his knowledge on what he knows about explosives and, you know, his background in all he's worked in and all he's written in his long career as a thriller writer. And then totally different, we have The Scandalous Hamiltons, which again takes place during the Gilded Age. And this is also the dark side of the Hamiltons that you normally would not see. In this book, we have an heir and a descendant of Alexander Hamilton, and how he is basically taken in by a Gilded Age con artist who is a prostitute, and he ends up marrying her, and incredible scandal ensues, which ended up giving rise to tabloid journalism, which is something we even, especially today, can't get enough of, but also love to hate. So I think this book has all the ingredients that people are looking for right now. It's very pertinent to today's news cycle in its exploration of the origins of tabloid journalism. And it has Hamilton, and it has a con artist, and it has the Gilded Age. It really ticks every possible box that you didn't even know you needed all in one book. And then V.S. Alexander with The War Girls. This is World War II historical fiction. And the 5th book from this author. He has received a ton of acclaim and has been a Once Upon a Book Club selection in the past, and is the author of his debut, which was The Magdalene Girls, which was very well received and sold extremely well. This book is really poised to be this author's breakout. And I think the story really hits the right note with the huge audience of World War II historical fiction readers that are out there. I think the packaging really hits the right note. It's a beautiful cover. It's striking. You know what you're going to get. It's a really thick, meaty book. So, you know, historical fiction readers will really identify with this package and the story itself. And it's perfect for fans of Kate Quinn, and it really evokes that package as well. So we're really excited to break V.S. Alexander out even further with this August release. And then a book that I just finished reading, because even though I'm not your usual cozy reader, I saw this cover and this story and I just couldn't help myself. It's absolutely adorable and so much fun and totally fitting in the niche right now of older sleuths solving crimes, older amateur sleuths, our senior citizen sleuths, and in this case also showing dogs, gardening, baking, playing bridge. It's just totally fun, totally enjoyable, page-turning reading. Lorian Berenson is a veteran author who many cozy readers will recognize from her Melanie Travis series, of which this is a spinoff. So Peg is a regular character in the Melanie Travis series, and now in this brand new series, she will take center stage with Rose as they solve various crimes that just happen to fall into their laps in New England, with plenty of poodles for everyone who is looking for their cozy fix with a pet. And then an author that we are so excited about, Annalee Hoover, is back with the next Verity Kent mystery, A Certain Darkness. These are historical mysteries that take place right after World War I, and they have various settings, various European settings. And in this one, actually, we have the heroine on a steamship. And what is so cool about this is it just so happens that we have this package and this author is also working on a novel about the Titanic. So it just really all worked together. She is now a USA Today bestselling author from her Lady Darby mysteries, of which a new one just came out. So everything is really going in the right direction for Annalee Hoover. She gets excellent reviews. She is an acclaimed author. These are perfect for fans of Jacqueline Winspear, and historical mystery is really having a moment. We have so many series that are performing better than ever, and Annalee is right at the center of that. Speaking of historical mystery, we have Murder at the Serpentine Bridge by Andrea Penrose, who is also now a USA Today bestseller following last year's book, Murder at the Royal Botanic Gardens. You may remember last year we were lucky enough to have Andrea talking about Murder at the Royal Botanic Gardens, and she just is a meticulous researcher. She writes a fantastic book, really creates time and place. I think the package is really evocative, and between Gilded Age and Regency right now, there's just nothing hotter. And for all those Bridgerton fans out there who are looking for their next fix, but have maybe read as many romances as they can get right now, this is the perfect type of book, because you have the Regency setting, you have a touch of romance, but really at its heart, this is a murder mystery. So it's a twist on Bridgerton that I think people are looking for. And now for something totally different. What would be a season of Kensington without the best-selling Western authors, the Johnstone team? Old Cowboys Never Die. We are now doing 2 Johnstones a year in trade paperback instead of sticking with the full mass market format that we have done in the past. This will be our second trade paperback this year. We've found that the trades are helping to broaden the Johnstone audience. There are a lot of Western readers out there who are not who you'd think of as the typical Western reader. There's a younger audience that is looking for a trade format and a bigger story that isn't necessarily part of a series. These are standalones, really kind of sweeping historical novels. Right now, we've just had Forever Texas go on sale this month, and it's performing extremely well. And I think on the heels of that, we will see a lot of success with this kind of fun, old school Western movie style packaging for this book. And this is a title I am so excited about. I'm sure a lot of you will know Carleen O'Connor from her Irish Village mysteries, which are really fun cozies that are great for armchair travel. Well, now she's bringing us a new series, but instead of it being cozy, it is super dark, a la Ton of French, with No Strangers Here, the first in the County Kerry mystery series. This is not for the faint of heart cozy reader. This definitely gets much more dark and in depth in terms of, the murder details and investigations. As I said, it's perfect for your friends of Ton of French and Louise Penny. I love this package. I think it really evokes the Irish setting. I'm so excited to get my ARC and also to share it with everyone. So this will be a departure for Carleen, but keep us in that Irish setting. And she will also be continuing to write her Irish Village cozies. And also in historical mystery, we have the second book in Colleen Cambridge's series set in the home of Agatha Christie. So these are a lot of fun. These are really well written. The first book, Murder at Mallowan Hall, was an Indie Next selection. And this book takes us back to that time and place. Agatha Christie, of course, is huge. If you read mysteries, you love Agatha Christie, you want all the Agatha Christie you can get. And this gives us a new twist on Agatha for mystery readers. Really exciting, really well done. And we're really also excited about this author who will be bringing us additionally a second brand new series in the first half of 2023 centered around Julia Child instead of Agatha Christie. So a lot of great things going on for Colleen Cambridge. And then we have Lisa Child's The Missing. This is the new Bain Island novel. And these are perfect for fans of Lisa Jackson. And in this particular book, I think we've really, again, hit the nail on the head with the package. It's very atmospheric, very evocative, super creepy. Lisa Childs writes a really dark suspense novel, very little touch of romance in it. Again, perfect for fans of authors like Lisa Jackson, Nancy Bush. And we've been seeing a lot of good reviews and feedback on these titles. We're getting a lot of copies out in the marketplace. So she is an author to watch and somebody that we're really committed to building further. And then I know I keep saying I'm excited about all these books, but I really am. And now we have USA Today bestselling author Lauren Elliott going into hardcover for the first time. You, I'm sure, know her Beyond the Page bookstore mysteries, of which we just had a new one come out this month, A Margin for Murder, which was a USA Today bestseller. Steeped in Secrets will be the first in the new Shay Myers mystery series, which will be perfect for fans of Ellery Adams' Secret Book and Scone Society mysteries. And it has that wonderful kind of coastal California setting, which is perfect for armchair travel, perfect for cozy readers. This also centers around a new age tea and crystals shop. So you have tea, you have crystals, you have California. It's the perfect cozy setting for murder. And now I am going to yield the floor to our authors and our editors, who are the people I'm sure you all came here to see. So we will start with Felicia Michelle.
Thank you. So my name is Leisha Michelle. I am first and foremost a librarian. I've been a librarian for about 15 years. This book kind of came about, the idea started really back in 2016, because in 2016, we had the election that seemed to really have a huge impact, presidential election, on our country. And I created a group, a Facebook group called Real Talk, Women of Color and Allies for Racial Justice and Anti-Oppression. And in that group, we have been training white women to be allies to women of color. And we're still doing that. So the things that I learned in that group kind of dictated how I was going to approach this book. I still do that work. I still, work with the trainings and work with white women in the group. But I also do that in my real life. As a Black woman, I think it's just important that I speak up in any situation, where I think racism is happening and where I need to, use my voice to make change. I think the thing that I'm really excited about with this book is when I try to recommend readings to people who ask me, like, what would you recommend that I read if I want to do anti-racism work or whatever? What I didn't find out there when I was recommending things is there's a book that was like truly actionable on every page. And so that's the reason that I wrote this book. It's geared towards 4 weeks. It is 4 weeks of intense work and self-reflection. And it requires that you not only read, but you take action in every chapter. There are scenarios you work through, there are action items I want you to do. I want people who are considering being allies to be uncomfortable. This is work that if you think it's easy, or if you think you're doing it and it's not hard, you're probably not really doing the work. So what I hope to accomplish is that we get a groundswell of white people who have been really paying attention to what's been going on in this country for not only, historically generations ago, but what's happening now, and the basic rights that, Black women are fighting for, that other marginalized communities are fighting for, and really say, what can I do about that? And I want them to pick up this book. I want them to get some accountability partners. I want them to join some book discussions and create groups and really start doing the necessary work of change. We're at a critical time in this country. I say that I think we've been at a critical time for probably 50 years, but we're still there. Things are not changing nearly as much as they should. And we're getting to the point that if white people aren't really going to do the necessary work to make substantial and real change for the rest of us who don't have that type of power, then my life is not going to change. The generations after me, our lives are not going to change. We're still going to be fighting for voting rights, for the right for police not to hunt us down and kill us, for Black women not to be at a mortality rate for pregnancy, because they're not being seriously listened to by their doctors, or being able to buy a house in a neighborhood that's white and having a realtor or a loan company try to prevent you. So that's what I'm hoping happens. I really hope that white people take it seriously. And, I want them to do the necessary work. I want them to get uncomfortable. I want them to question everything. I want them to confront their own racism. And I also want them to confront the racism around them, including their family and friends, because that's really where the real change is going to happen.
Thank you so much. Thank you for taking the time to talk about your book. I think it's so important. I am really looking forward to getting it out there and seeing the conversations that it creates. And I'm just glad that you were able to come here and talk to us about it today.
Thank you.
Now we have a book that I read recently that it's got just the most fun premise about a woman who never had her quinceañera, and now she is turning 30, so her life is crumbling and she's decided to have a double quinceañera instead. But I will turn it over to Shamile Saeed Mendez to talk about it instead, because she will do a much better job getting in there than I ever could.
Thank you so much. And I'm so excited to be sharing this panel with all of you today. And like Alex said, my book features a woman who is on the verge of turning 30, but most exciting of all, she's about to get married finally to her longtime fiance. But a month before the wedding, she finds out that things about him that she hadn't wanted to confront, and finally decides to break off the engagement. Unfortunately, because it's almost time for the wedding, none of the vendors will return the money for all the reservations that she did for food or the venue or flowers. And worst of all, her family coming from all over the world has already made plans to get together in Utah, where this story is set. And I also live in Utah, so it was really fun to write about this setting that I don't see a lot in women's fiction. And because she can't postpone the event, even though she doesn't have a groom anymore, she decides to throw herself a double quinceañera, since she never had one when she was 15. And a quinceañera, for those of you who are not familiar with this tradition, in the Latino community, is a coming of age party for a girl when she turns 15. And it's a custom in most Latin American countries when a girl is celebrated. Author Julia Alvarez said that every girl deserves to have a quinceañera and be the center of her family and her community. And there is a trend that started in the United States with second, third, and fourth generation Latinas who are accomplished women who are throwing themselves these double, triple, fourth quinceañeras later on in life to celebrate themselves with their families. And that's basically what my character Nadia wants to accomplish. Things get complicated when she finds out that the venue owner that she has to deal with is an old boyfriend from her college years. And there is that thread of romance, but most importantly, like in all my other books, there's a huge cast featuring family and friends, and it's a journey of self-discovery and finding the true love of your life.
Thank you so much. And I love your background, by the way. It really,
Oh, thank you.
since I read the book, it's great to see your background, because now I can really, all the, the scenes that you spoke about, the beautiful kind of sweeping vistas, now I can really, I feel like I can really picture it now.
I love it.
And now I'm going to turn it over to our editor, Elizabeth Trout, who is going to be talking about books on behalf of Alicia Condon, who I'm very jealous is away in Italy this week. So I will hand it over to Elizabeth's wonderfully capable hands.
Hi, everyone. I hope you're all having a good afternoon. I'm going to start with Quicksand, which is the third and final book in Janet Daly's The Champion series, which it follows Whirlwind and Whiplash, and it's set in the fascinating world of bucking bulls and the ranchers who raise them. So each of the books in the Champion series is named after a different bull owned by the three sisters who are struggling to make their family ranch successful. The series is loaded with authentic details about rodeos and bucking broncos, some sexy ranchers in there. Of course, there's a major romance element, but there's also a lot of suspense. Since this is the conclusion to the series, the murder plot comes to its head. There's some dramatic rodeo scenes, a plane crash, and just lots of pulse pounding action. This series is aimed at a younger audience than the audience that Janet Daly typically appeals to. There's a younger, a little bit more dynamic cast. Trend's a little more fun and sexy than some of Janet's more traditional romances. So we think that this series is perfect for millennial readers who like Western set thrillers like those of author C.J. Box. And also the TV show Yellowstone has been blowing up, and with the similar family saga with all the danger, mystery, and set in the West, that we think fans of that show will love this series by Janet Daly. And yeah, we're hoping that this book expands her readership and this whole series in general. And then more Janet Daly. They've got Something Different, Somebody Like Santa, which is the next installment in Janet's Christmas Tree Ranch series. So this is the classic Janet Daly brand, set in the charming town of Branding Iron, Texas. And, you know, it's an annual holiday tradition, we like to say. So it's, you know, a sweet, heartwarming holiday romance, classic Americana themes. It celebrates a small town America and all these quaint holiday traditions. And Janet's fans will, you know, love coming back to Branding Iron, Texas. In this book, a divorced single dad and a youth counselor bond over helping his teenage son adjust to life in the small town. And like all the books in the Christmas Tree Ranch series, this is a perfect book to get you into the holiday spirit. It's full of Christmas traditions like a cowboy Christmas ball, and is one of those stories when every time you turn around, there's a fresh batch of cookies or someone's making hot chocolate behind you. Lots of charming details like that. These books are usually appearing on the USA Today and Publishers Weekly bestseller lists, and are perfect for fans of other heartwarming holiday romances like Rayanne Thane and Robin Carr, and of course, classic Hallmark holiday movies. And our last Janet Daly for today is Hope Creek, which is the latest in Janet's New Americana series. So this series focuses on the struggles of everyday Americans, and goes to a different state in each book. So these are sweet, heartwarming romances, and this book is set on the barrier islands of South Carolina. And in this book, it stars two sisters who have reunited after being separated for many years. And they're working on their relationship as they also try to work out their mutual attraction to a handsome neighbor. And in the end, no spoilers, but it all works out and everyone finds their, you know, happily ever after. So this will appeal to readers of Dorothy Benton Frank who, you know, are looking for those evocative descriptions of South Carolina's low country. There's oyster fishing, sultry nights under the stars, and this relaxed island atmosphere. So it kind of feels like a trip to the beach. And these New Americana books also try to address timely issues, and especially pertaining to the state that they're set in. So for this one, it deals with sustainable harvesting, specifically the oysters in this case, mental illness, alcoholism, special needs caregiving, and other challenging family dynamics that also, you know, still hold on to a sense of hope in family. And generally fans of Robin Carr, Debbie May Comer, and Linda Lyle Miller will love this book. And now we're moving on to Kat Martin, One Last Chance. So a little bit of a different type of book here. This is the third in Kat Martin's Blood Ties series, which is a sexy, high-octane romantic thriller series. So in this book, an ex-Green Beret and a female private investigator join together to save the female investigator's sister from a cult. So the investigators infiltrate this cult, which turns out to be a front for a meth cooking operation. Cults are usually a big, you know, people are always fascinated by cults. They're a big sell. So, you know, and Kat Martin does a really great job with this, you know, sexual tension between the investigators, twists and turns on every page. Her writing is also very spare in a way that makes you turn the pages. You know, everything has a purpose. It kind of feels like, you know, the equivalent of eating a bag of popcorn. And Kat is a huge bestseller. She's super popular with readers. Fans of Nora Roberts, Sandra Brown, J.D. Robb, and Heather Graham will love these books. Okay, and another twisty thriller is You Can Hide by Rebecca Zanetti. So this is her second Laurel Snow novel, and we like to comp this to the TV show Luther, and Justified, with a little bit of profiler thrown in there. So the protagonist is an FBI profiler whose job is to get in the minds of serial killers. And her twin, or her sister, his half sister, excuse me. It would be better if they were twins. But her half sister is a little bit of a sociopath, and they, in this start to the series, they are connected for the first time, and the half sister, who may be a sociopath, becomes obsessed with the profiler, and there's that conflict going on in there. So there's also a strong romance element. Laurel, our heroine, teams up with a man who works in the Fish and Wildlife Service, and he helps her, look into serial killings. These are set in Washington State, in a super evocative small town that's almost like a character in itself. There's always some kind of ominous weather event going on that adds a lot of tension and suspense. And Rebecca is a really great self-promoter, and she's always trying to find new ways to engage with fans. She has lots of great ideas, and she's really wonderful and a great writer. Okay, and then something completely different. We have The Boxing Baroness by Minerva Spencer. Minerva, as Alex said in the beginning, Minerva was originally supposed to be here with us today, but she's out saving the animals. But she did want to mention how grateful she is for libraries and librarians, and specifically for this book, the Library of Congress, was very helpful to her in helping her conduct research that she did that makes the story come to life. So The Boxing Baroness is actually based on a real life historical figure who was married to the Earl of Barrymore, known as Hellgate. So this is a Regency romance, historical romance, perfect for Julia Quinn's Bridgerton series, fans of Julia Quinn's Bridgerton series. It's the first in a new series, which will show, each book will show a woman of either somewhat questionable repute who manages to make her way up into the upper echelons of society, even if only at its fringes. So in this version of The Boxing Baroness, it takes this real life historical figure and has her actually box her lover. And she finds out eventually that her this Hellgate man who she boxes with is actually an undercover agent for the government trying to bring down a dangerous enemy. So there's that fun intrigue in there, in addition to the charming romance. But Minerva Spencer is really wonderful, and she is very smart with all the research based on this the true details of the period, but it's also super modern and fun. And she's received great reviews for her previous books and has been covered by places like Entertainment Weekly, Historical Novel Review, and she's been included in best of lists in places like Pop Sugar and She Reads. So we're really excited about this new series.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. That was excellent and a lot. And thank you for covering all of that on behalf of Alicia and Minerva. It looks like Vanessa may have had some issues connecting. So I'm gonna turn it over to Essie to talk about Murder in Westminster, which is first in a new historical mystery series, also set at the Regency, that we are really excited about.
Sure, I do. I think she maybe is here, but can't be on as a panelist. So I will talk. And if that gets solved, then I will stop speaking. Murder in Westminster is the first in a new historical mystery series by Vanessa Riley set in the Regency era. This is the Lady Worthing mystery series featuring our main character, an amateur sleuth, Lady Abigail Worthing, who she is a Black woman, a woman of Caribbean descent living in England at the time, married to a peer who often is away exploring. And so in some ways she's left her own devices and sort of navigating the things that society has laid in front of her, some of which use her skills of observation to figure out mysteries, and some which she uses in secret to help aid the abolition fight as that debate heats up in England at the time. So one of the things that's really great about this series, and what's great about all of Vanessa's books, is that there's this rich level of historical detail that brings to life a part of history that some might think they know a lot about because it is such a popular time for people to write in. But she does a great job of highlighting both the diversity of the era in terms of race and class, but also all of the political and world events that really underpin everything that society was going through, while also creating a very entertaining and engaging and twisty mystery for a reader to figure out. So it's got this really strong grounding while also being a fun time as well. So I'm incredibly excited that we have the series at Kensington, continuing our love of Vanessa Riley. And I think this is the kind of book that historical mystery readers have really been waiting for, even if they don't know it yet.
So we're gonna turn it over to Ellen Marie, although we will be coming back to Essie later on. Ellen Marie Wiseman is here, and we are so lucky to have her, the New York Times best-selling author of The Orphan Collector, which was just such a fantastic book and just so happened to be set during the 1918 Spanish flu pandemic, and just so happened to release in August of 2020. It went on to be an instant New York Times bestseller. It was just beautifully written. You can always count on a beautifully written, well-researched story from Ellen Marie. I just finished The Lost Girls of Willowbrook a couple of weeks ago. It, as always, Ellen, I emailed her and told her as I was reading it, I knew she was gonna rip my heart out, but by the end she would put it back in. And that is exactly what she did. So I will turn it over to her now.
Thanks, Alex, and thanks everybody else for being here. And thank you to all the librarians for always supporting authors and books. I'm just so grateful for all the events that they put on for me and everything. As Alex said, this is The Lost Girls of Willowbrook, and it's set at Willowbrook State School on Staten Island. Willowbrook State School is the school for mentally and physically disabled children and adults. And Geraldo Rivera did an expose on it in the 1970s. One of the doctors who worked there, he got fired because he was trying to improve the situation there for the patients. And he met with Geraldo Rivera, who was a reporter at the time, and gave him a key to the building, and he went in there and filmed it. And so there was this big expose, and to let everybody know about the inhumane conditions there. Excuse me. So there was, a nationwide outcry about how bad it was, but it still took 15 more years for it to close. I was first drawn to Willowbrook by the rumors and the urban legends surrounding it. I had watched a documentary about Cropsey, which was an urban legend about a serial killer who lived beneath the tunnels in Willowbrook. And also there was rumors about medical research being done at Willowbrook. And so the more I researched Willowbrook, the more complex and dark I realized the place was. And some of those urban legends actually turned out to be true, and they made it into the book in some surprising ways. And also, Geraldo makes an appearance in the book. The book is about a young teenage girl who believes for 6 years that her sister died of pneumonia, and she overhears her stepfather talking about the fact that he got a phone call from Willowbrook saying that she was missing. So the main character, she gets on a bus and she's going to go find her twin sister, but when she gets to the school, they think that she is her missing twin and they lock her up. And I always like to write about putting ordinary people in extraordinary circumstances. And I wanted to write about what it would be like to be inside Willowbrook, because I didn't want to just write about someone from the outside looking in. I just think it gives you a more intimate portrayal of how it was. Willowbrook was just basically a warehouse for, disabled people. And, sometimes kids were sent there because the doctors had convinced the parents that, they should commit them for the sake of the family. And there was also, normal kids that were sent there by foster homes and parents who just didn't want to deal with them anymore. People would leave their kids at the train station with a sign around their neck that said, take me to Willowbrook. So there was basically a waiting list to get into Willowbrook, but it was underfunded, it was understaffed, it was overcrowded. And so Geraldo Rivera did the expose, and it changed a lot of things. So it really was a lot of darker than I anticipated when I started the research. It really changed me as a person when I read about how bad it was. And, even though it closed, it still serves as a reminder that, we still need to be more protective of the vulnerable people above us or below us, and treat them with kindness and respect. And I hope that, like Alex said, I will rip your heart out and put it back in again. So the other thing that came to be true was that it really was a hideout for medical research. They experimented on the kids there, and it was all funded by the Defense Department. So I hope you guys will read it and let me know what you think.
Thank you so much, Ellen. I can't recommend the book enough. It's a very important story that needs to be told. And I, again, look forward to seeing everyone's reviews and reactions to it once it is out there. And now I will turn it over to debut author Courtney Kay, who is absolutely delightful, and her book is so much fun and a wonderful love story for winter and the holidays. And take it away, Courtney.
Thank you for that beautiful intro. Thank you for having me. I can't tell you what an honor it is to be here. I grew up fully entrenched in this amazing library system that I was fortunate to have growing up, just sitting in the aisles reading Sweet Valley High. I have such a love of libraries that I've brought into my adulthood, with now in my busy life with the Overdrive apps, and passing that on to my child. So thank you for all you do to get books to the people who need them and to create safe spaces in a world where we need them. In the Event of Love is my debut novel and the book of my heart, and it follows an LA event planner named Morgan, who, in order to save her career from scandal, accepts a fundraiser back in her rustic mountain hometown, only to find that the owner of the tree farm she's there to save is the girl who broke her heart 7 years ago. And if you wanted to summarize it even more, it's steamy queer Hallmark. And it was inspired by, in 2019, I had been consuming a lot of Hallmark movies for the comfort and the joy that was desperately needed at that time in my life. And I couldn't help but notice that there were not any queer couples represented, nobody that reflected my bi identity, and just there wasn't that representation present. Now, thankfully, there's becoming more, and I'm so grateful to be able to contribute to those voices. It's been an honor to already have early readers reach out that they're so happy to see themselves in a story like this. I'm so honored to already have a beautiful review from Library Journal. It's gotten some early notice from BuzzFeed and Book Riot. And most of all, I just hope that this book creates a safe space for people who need it, like you also provide as librarians. So thank you so much for having me. And I'm just really happy and grateful.
Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us. And I couldn't help but scroll to the quotes page while you were referencing the early readers, because we really have gotten some fantastic early reads, early quotes, including Allie Hazelwood, author of The Love Hypothesis. There's just more and more love coming in for this book, and I can't wait to share it with the world. And now I will turn it over to Valerie Burns, also known as VM Burns, who writes, will now write 2 series on our list. This is first in the new series that she will be doing under the name Valerie, 2 parts sugar, 1 part murder. It looks like we lost Valerie, but we gained Vanessa Riley. So I will talk about 2 parts sugar, 1 part murder, and then we will let Vanessa talk a little bit about Murder in Westminster so she can give us her background on the story and the research that she's done for that book. But 2 parts sugar, 1 part murder, as I said, is first in a new series. It is at its heart a cozy mystery, but this is definitely a mystery that has a wide audience for fans of books like Arsenic and Adobo. In this story, an influencer has to kind of go home again and take over her great aunt's bakery. And of course, she also inherits a giant English Mastiff, because what would a fun cozy be without a giant dog running amok amongst all of the delicious baked goods and wild murders that are going on. This is such a fun book. As I mentioned, Valerie writes also under VM Burns, and she is well known in the cozy mystery scene. And we're really excited to have this second series for her from her in trade paperback. And I think that with the influencer main character and the bakery and the dog and all of the really fun hooks here, that it will appeal to a really wide audience and a younger audience that may not identify as cozy mystery readers, but they definitely are there, even if they don't know that they're there. So I'm gonna take us back a few and let Vanessa talk about Murder in Westminster.
Thank you so much. First of all, I'm excited to actually be here to see you guys, and I'm on the right link right now. So I'm very impressed with myself. I love libraries. So anytime I can get the chance to talk about my love of libraries, where my passion for research and history came from, it's all because of being allowed to have a library card, probably before I was really old enough to have one, in lovely South Carolina. Murder in Westminster is the first in series. You are going to meet Lady Worthing. She's a woman of mixed heritage. She's has both Scottish and Jamaican heritage, 2 cultures which have very strong second sight, which is this ability to sort of, you've had deja vu, you've walked into some place and like, I've been here before, or you've had those conversations. didn't I just dream this? What if that is your background and you're seeing things, crimes being committed, but you only get that snippet, so you don't understand it? You've got to puzzle it out. And so she's using her ability to puzzle things out, to figure out what's happening, and to try to right certain wrongs. So if you're a fan of Sherry Thomas or you're a fan of Walter Mosley, you're going to get kind of that wonderful mix. You're going to see Abby doing life. You're going to learn about the politics of the time. We're in early 1800s, 1806. You've got Haiti, who's just being free. You've got the abolition movements that are going on. You've got all different types of countries and nations pushing for independence and freedom. And then you have this woman who has privilege, who's able to see both sides of society trying to make a change. But she's also a puzzler, and she's living next to this really annoying man who has two large greyhounds who are attacking her terrier. Now, y'all know it's the other way around, right? But you know, her terrier is a little yappy dog, and she loves this baby. They built a fence in between the two properties, and the neighbor's estranged wife is found dead. Abby knows that she's going to be a suspect, but now she has to work with this man who might be a slightly sexy Moriarty type to figure out who really did it so that she can continue to make good in the world. That's Murder in Westminster. Hopefully you'll love Lady Worthing. It's coming out this fall.
Thank you so much. That was wonderful. I'm so glad that you made it in, and I am so sorry that you had trouble getting here. But I'm really glad we were able to hear from you on this book, which I love. And we have ARCs available if anyone would like to email for one afterwards. We do have ARCs available of most of the books that we are talking about today. And we are also super lucky because Valerie Burns is back, and she can do a wonderful job talking about 2 parts sugar, 1 part murder, and you know, give us all of the wonderful details that I was not able to.
Thank you, Alex. Can you guys hear me now? Okay, great.
Yes, you sound great.
Okay. I am excited to be here as well. I love libraries, and I grew up about 3 blocks from my neighborhood library, and my best friend and I spent practically every day at that library. And I blame and credit that librarian for getting me hooked on cozy mysteries, which has led me to where I am today, talking to you about my new book in my series, the Baker Street Mystery Series. And the first book is 2 parts murder, or 2 parts sugar, 1 part murder. And in this book, readers will get introduced to Maddie Montgomery. And Maddie is a fashionista and a social media influencer who gets dumped by her fiance in the middle of her live stream wedding. And Maddie is humiliated and looking for a rock to hide under until the publicity dies down. And she finds the perfect place to hide out when she learns that she's inherited a bakery and a house and a 250-pound English Mastiff named Baby in New Bison, Michigan. And that's a sleepy little resort town on the shores of Lake Michigan. And with dreams of selling the house and the bakery and the dog that's the size of a small pony, she heads to New Bison. And she packs up her Louis Vuittons and goes to Southwest Michigan, where she learns that her strong-willed great aunt Octavia had other plans. So according to the terms of the will, Maddie she only will inherit if she runs the bakery, stays in the house, and keeps the dog for 1 year. Well, Maddie can't bake. She's never owned a house, and she hasn't been able to keep a goldfish alive. But she says, okay. So she moves to New Bison, and she immediately starts getting inundated with offers for buying her property, which she can't sell. fed up, she gets into an argument with someone who wants to expand his store into her bakery. And after her argument, the guy ends up dead in the bakery, and Maddie's fingerprints are all over the murder weapon. So it's up to her and her new friends, the Baker Street Irregulars, to figure out who done it. So I think that anybody who likes the Hallmark mysteries will enjoy this series. It is a culinary cozy, so there are recipes, and that's 2 parts sugar, 1 part murder.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad you were able to get back in also. We have had some technical difficulties today, but it seems with a little bit of luck, we have gotten them worked out. I'm really glad that you were able to give a wonderful presentation about this book, which I'm seeing a lot of excitement about. Now we're going to hand it back to Essie in what would have been the normal progression of our program. And she will pick up with the legendary bestseller, Fern Michaels, and 2 very different books that we will see this fall.
As I'm sure many of you know, Fern is a longtime classic author, and she is very prolific, and she can do pretty much anything, which you see before you now. Secrets is the second in Fern's brand new Lost and Found series, which the first book came out last year, Hidden. It is set around a brother and sister team, Cullen and Luna. Cullen and Luna run sort of an offshoot of their family business. Their family had an antique business. Cullen does furniture restoration, and Luna runs the coffee shop that is attached. Luna, maybe due to her name, also has a little bit of ESP, a little bit of palm reading. And so she brings that sort of more free-spirited element to Cullen's more buttoned up businessman life. And what happens to them as they get these pieces of furniture in, and Luna can sense that each one has a story. And in this book, they get an old trunk that smells of smoke, and inside it is a diary and an anonymous letter that is their payment and tells them to return it to the rightful owner, who of course they don't know who that is. So they're trying to figure out not only who the owner is, but what events led to this trunk being in this state. What were the circumstances behind the fire, if that is what happened? And can they find the rightful owner to this diary? So there's mystery. Their shop is in this sort of amazing artisan center with lots of different other shops and crafts. So you have this cast of characters there as well who you get to know. There's a little bit of romance. It's got a bit of everything. And it's just a very fun new series from Fern, and she's sort of stretching her wings in a different direction, which has been a delight. We also have Falling Stars, which, as everybody's mentioned, if you know, even with Hallmark, Lifetime, and Netflix cannot get enough of a classic Christmas romance, Falling Stars is for you. It is about a young woman named Emily Ammerman, whose family runs a ski resort, Snowdrift Summit in Colorado. I mean, you can't get more classically holiday than that. And while Emily maybe has different plans for her life than taking over the resort, she is always happy to help out. And this season, she is asked to help train a movie star who's come to sort of brush up on his skills before he does his next action movie. And little does anyone know that Emily is this movie star's biggest fan. So she's trying to keep those feelings a secret while she spends day after day with him. But of course, as will come as no surprise, those feelings do bubble up to the surface. Perfect holiday fare. I saw somebody in the chat say they love this cover. I think this cover is so fantastic and cheerful and warm. And I think it'll just be a great addition to Fern's already extensive holiday fare. Still Waters by Sarah Driscoll is in the latest of the FBI Canine series, featuring FBI canine dog handlers who are on a search and rescue team. In Still Waters, the two main handlers, Meg and her partner Brian, and their dogs Hawk and Lacey, are in Minnesota. and they are doing training to learn how to do more water rescues. And there's also a bit of a competition in this training session where they and other teams from other law enforcement agencies are sort of working against each other to see who has the best skills. One of the other handlers is sort of aggressive, and she's a bit of a little edgy and just like really antagonizing the other contestants, and she turns up dead. And it is Meg's dog Hawk who finds her. However, Meg was the last person seen arguing with her. So not only is she the person who finds the body, but she is now also a suspect. So she needs to clear her name, but also use her dog's skills to try and figure out what really happened to this victim. There's suspense, there's great details about the dogs and how they work. And also this really interesting setting that I think really makes each one of the books in this series a really fascinating read.
And last but definitely not least, we have Tammy Greenwood here to talk about her new book, Such a Pretty Girl, which is, I just received my ARC. It's in my kitchen as we speak. I was very excited, waiting for this one. Beautiful package, evocative of the 70s setting, which I think is really appealing right now to a really broad audience. Definitely a time period that is on the rise in terms of books and TV in terms of attention. So I will turn it over to Tammy and let her take us through the story.
Thank you. It's so wonderful to be here. Librarians are my heroes. I think if I had another life to live, I would be a librarian. My husband is actually works for the San Diego Public Library Foundation. And so he gets to go to the library to work every day. And I'm super jealous. If I could live in a library, I would. And the library and libraries and librarians have been so supportive of my work for many, many years. My 2018 novel, Rust and Stardust, was a library reads pick. And so I am tremendously grateful to everything that librarians have done for my career and getting the word out about the books and sharing the worlds that I've made. I love librarians so much that I've made one of my recurring characters the driver of the bookmobile, which is secretly my retirement fantasy, is that I want to drive the bookmobile around and deliver books. So this is my 14th novel. And it is set in part in Vermont. It is about a woman named Ryan Flanagan, who is a former child actress and model from the 1970s, who is now living a sort of reclusive life in rural Vermont. She's raising her teenage daughter on her own. Her daughter's just turned 18 and is about to sort of fly out of the nest. And the book opens when she receives a text, when Ryan receives a text from her best friend growing up. With a link to an article from the New York Times that says that a photo of Ryan when she was a sort of a pre-adolescent, it's a controversial photo, has been found in the possession of a man named Zev Brenner, who's sort of a Jeffrey Epstein sort of character. A man who's been convicted of trafficking young women for decades. And it's a complete mystery as to how he would have gotten his hands on this photo. And she quickly learns from the article that the photo is inscribed from her mother. It was gifted to him by her mother. And so this sort of sets off this media firestorm, and she needs to return to New York City, where her mother still lives, to confront her, to see what sort of complicity, if any, she this horrible man, and how on earth this photo wound up in his hands. But the bulk of the book actually takes place in the 70s. The book goes back and forth in time, and it is about her life with her single mom in the Westbeth Residence for Artists, which is an actual building in New York City in Greenwich Village that has been, I think, open since the late 60s. And it was the first federally funded artist residence. And so they go there to live as the mother pursues her own career as an actress. And it's Ryan that ends up getting discovered on the street by a modeling agent, and her career just takes off. And her mother quickly shifts from being an aspiring actress to being a very domineering stage mother. And the story is really about their relationship, about a mom's ambitions, about the sort of exploitation that was pretty prevalent among young actresses in the 70s. If you think of Brooke Shields, Jodie Foster, a lot of lines sort of that were very blurry at that time. And I wanted to explore those fuzzy lines, the lines between art and obscenity, between girlhood and womanhood, between mother and daughter. You know, there's a lot of my novels explore, you know, that sort of relationship, and the bonds that are between moms and daughters. And so everything in the past, we watch the story unfold, and it culminates on the night of the 1977 blackout, which I don't know if anyone is familiar with this historical moment, but basically the lights went out in all of New York City in July of 1977. And that was the night that the photo was taken. And over the course of the story, you learn the secret of the photo and the secrets that Ryan has been keeping, and that her mother has been keeping as well. And that's basically it. I was really excited to look in this story at two different settings that really no longer exist. You know, there's the Vermont of her childhood, which she grows up before they moved to New York, on site of a summer stock theater, and sort of a communal kind of living situation, artists living. And then the New York City of 1976 and 1977, the summer of Sam, and all of those, you know, things that are notorious about the mid 1970s in New York. I think it's a really nostalgic book, especially for readers who are my age, you know, who are children of the 70s. I was born in 1969, and so Ryan is just a little bit older than I am. And I'm hoping that it really appeals to women who are also looking back at things in their own life through a more contemporary filter. I think Ryan is really forced to examine the things that happened to her as a child in the context of, you know, post Me Too, when all of a sudden the bad behavior of men that was just sort of expected or dismissed or given back then is under a new scrutiny.
I didn't know it was possible for me to want to read this book more, but now I do. That was such a wonderful presentation and talk about the book. And also in terms of, for people who are children of the 70s, like my mom is a huge fan of your books, and she is so excited about this book.
Wonderful.
She was when we were looking at cover comps, I went to her and I was like, which one do you think? And she was so happy that we went with this one.
It's pretty perfect for the story. It really is. You guys did a wonderful job.
It is just gorgeous. The story sounds just so page turning, but moving, and also important. I feel like every book we've talked about today really explores important topics, and topics that aren't always covered by you know, popular books that are out there. And I think that's what's really important to us at Kensington, is, you know, telling stories that are not the traditional stories that you see all the time. And I think we covered a lot of that today. I know I mentioned there are ARCs available, digital and print, for most of these books. If you reach out through Overdrive, or you want to email me, I will put my email in the chat right now so that you can reach out. You can reach out if you are interested in finding out more or getting a copy of any of these books. The recording will also be available on YouTube in a few days, and you can find all of these on Overdrive for pre-order, and some of them will be available very soon. So I really am so thankful for everybody who joined us today. all the librarians, everyone from Overdrive, and of course our authors and editors. You all did a wonderful job talking about your books, and I can't wait until they are out there in the world. And I am looking forward to hearing from all of you, and of course, reach out if there's anything else I can do.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much, everyone.